So, Hare Krishna, welcome to Iskcon Niagara weekly program. This particular month of March, we have a very special program glorifying Shri Chaitanaya Mahaprabhu in honor of Gaur Purnima, the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And my name is Sachidanand Das. I'm your servant of Iskcon Niagara. I welcome all of you on behalf of Iskcon Niagara. The program today is as follows. There will be a 15-20 minute kirtan bhajan, followed by a special guest speaker, His Grace Basu Ghosh Prabhu, a disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He will be speaking, he will be giving the lecture, the discourse today, and the topic is week 2, glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thereafter, we will be having a question answer session. If anybody would like to ask any questions or reflections, if they want to share, then they can feel the microphone will be unmuted for all to actively interact. And then there will be an ending kirtan that will be performed by His Grace Venkat Prabhu and his wife Snigdha Radhika Mataji. So without further ado, this servant of Iskcon Niagara will be performing today's bhajan and kirtan prior to our guest speaker, Shri Vasu Das Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare कलयुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। पतित पावन निताई गौर सुंदर की जय। His Divine Grace AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। So continuing into the theme of the month of March, glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, today we would like to present a very special bhajan composed by Shri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, one of the most prominent scholars about 500 years ago in Jagannath Puri, who received very special mercy from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he composed this wonderful bhajan known as Nava Gauravaram. It is known as the Sachi Sutashtakam. Nava Gauravaram, Nava Pushpasaram, Nava Bhavadharam, Navalasya Param, Nava Gauravaram, Nava Pushpasharam, Nava Bhavadharam, Nava Lasya Param, Nava Hasyakaram, Nava Hemavaram, Pranamami Sachi Shuta Gauravaram, Pranamami Sachi Shuta Gauravaram. Nava Gauravaram, Nava Pushpasharam, Nava Bhavadharam, Nava Lasya Param, Nava Hasyakaram, Nava Hemavaram, Pranamami Sachi Shuta Gauravaram, Pranamami Sachi Shuta Gauravaram, Nava Gauravaram, Nava Prema Jutam, Nava Nita Sucham, Nava Vesha Krutam, Nava Prema Rasam, Nava Dhavila Sata Shubha Prema Mayam, Pranamami Sachi Shuta Gauravaram, Pranamami Sachi Shuta Gauravaram, Nava Prema Jutam, Nava Nita Sucham, Nava Vesha Krutam, Nava Prema Rasam, Nava Dhavila Sata Shubha Prema Mayam, Pranamami Sachi Shuta Gauravaram, Pranamami Sachi Shuta Gauravaram. Hari Bhakti Param, Hari Naam Dharam, Karajapya Karam, Hari Naam Param, Nayane Satatam, Pranaya Shrudharam, Pranamami Sachi Shuta Gauravaram, प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं हरिभक्तिपरं हरिनामधरं करजाप्यकरं हरिनामपरं नयने सततं प्रणयाश्रुधरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरम् सतत जनता भव तापहरं परमार्थपरायण लोकगतिं नवलेहकरं जगत्तापहरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं सततं जनता भव तापहरं परमार्थपरायण लोकगतिं नवलेहकरं जगत्तापहरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरम् निजभक्तिकरं प्रिय चारुतरं नटनर्तन नागर राजकुलं कामिनी मानस लास्यकरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं निजभक्तिकरं प्रिय चारुतरं नटनर्तन नागर राजकुलं कुलकामिनी मानस लास्यकरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरम् करतालवलं कलकण्ठरवं मृदुवाद्यसुवीणा यन्मधुरं निजभक्तिगुणामृत नाट्यकरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं करतालवलं कलकण्ठरवं मृदुवाद्यसुवीणिकायमधुरं निजभक्तिगुणामृत नाट्यकरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरम् युगधर्मच्युतं गुणनन्दसुतं धरणीसुचित्रं भवभावोचितं तनुध्यानचित्तं निजवासजुतं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं युगधर्मच्युतं गुणनन्दसुतं धरणीसुचित्रं भवभावोचितं तनुध्यानचित्तं निजवासजुतं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरम् अरुणं नयनं चरणं वसनं वदने स्खलितं स्वकनामधरं कुरुते सुरसं जगतः जीवनं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरम् अरुणं नयनं चरणं वसनं वदने स्खलितं स्वकनामधरं कुरुते सुरसं जगतः जीवनं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरम् नवगौरवरं नवपुष्पशरं नवभावधरं नवलास्यकरं नवहास्यकरं नवहेमवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरं प्रणमामि सच्चिदानन्दगौरवरम् हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaur Hari. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaur Hari. Jaya Sachinandana Gaur Hari, Jaya Sachinandana Gaur Hari, Nitai Gauranga Gaur Hari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radhe Radhe. Jaya Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath, Radhe Radhe. O Jaya Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Radhe Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodar, Radha Damodar, Radhe Radhe. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Radhe Radhe. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Jayo Shri Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Jayo Shri Radhe, Jayo Krishna Balaram, Jayo Vrindavan Dham, Jayo Krishna Balaram, Jayo Vrindavan Dham, Jayo Lalita Vishakha Radhe Shyam, Jayo Lalita Vishakha Radhe Shyam, Jayo Lalita Vishakha Radhe Shyam, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Ajanulambito bhujo kanakaya vidhato, Ajanulambito bhujo kanakaya vidhato, Sankirtanai pitaravo kamalayatasho, Vishwambharo Dvijavaro Yuga Dharma Palo, Vande Jagata Priyakaro Karunaya Avataro, Patita Pavana Nitai Gaur Sundar Ki Jai, Patita Pavana Nitai Gaur Sundar Ki Jai, Patita Pavana Nitai Gaur Sundar Ki Jai. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya Acharya Guruvar Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, welcome again, everybody, to Iskcon Niagara virtual weekly program. Our special session for the month of March is in honor of appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and today we have a very special guest, His Grace Basu Ghosh Prabhu, a disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I would like to say a few words introducing Prabhuji. Prabhuji joined Iskcon in 1973, and at that time Prabhuji actually, this temple was situated in Evanston, Illinois, and Basu Ghosh Prabhu also, he was born in Chicago, April 1955, And later on that year, he was initiated by Srila Prabhupada during the month of December. He served at Iskcon Chicago for about a year, and at the temple that was then located in Evanston, Illinois, one of the most closest suburbs on the border of Chicago and Evanston, nearby the Northwestern University, the famous Northwestern University. And as a member of Iskcon, he came to India in the beginning of 1974. So I'm sure everybody who's never been to India, especially those who are not of Indian body, were all excited every time when they got the opportunity to visit India. And then he was stationed there in India for the first 5 years at Iskcon Hyderabad. So where he learned to speak, read Hindi, Telugu, and believe me, Prabhuji is a multilingual person. He also speaks Gujarati, he speaks Hindi, he speaks Telugu, and of course English. In 1979, he shifted to Ahmedabad. And a year later, he opened the Iskcon Center at Surat. He spent about 3 years at Surat, and from then, after that, he shifted to Baroda, and where he settled after entering into the Grihastha ashram in 1984. So that was amazing that Prabhuji got involved in the Grihastha ashram, and he has an Indian body wife. And I've seen Prabhuji and his family, even when in the childhood, the children were also very much, Prabhuji is into Sanskrit. He speaks very fluent Sanskrit. And he even taught his children Sanskrit. And sometimes at home, they only spoke Sanskrit so that they could all study the language very nicely. Since settling in Baroda, he oversaw the construction of Sri Radha Shyam Sundar Mandir, and which was inaugurated in Janmashtami of 1999, and now is one of the most prominent attractions in the city of Baroda. Yes, one of the most beautiful temples in the Baroda city is the Iskcon temple on Gotri Road, Radha Shyam Sundar Mandir. And as a temple president, he oversaw the annual Jagannath Rath Yatra festival, which is one of Baroda's city's most popular festivals. That has been an annual event for the past 38 years. Yes, dear devotees, 38 years. Iskcon Baroda receives more than 100,000 visitors on Janmashtami Day. Wow, that's a huge number. And it is safe to say that Iskcon Baroda is Baroda's most popular Hindu mandir. Prabhuji has taken a keen interest in the Sanskrit language. He has many preaching activities in Hong Kong, Dubai, Russia, many countries in Eastern Europe, Germany, and UK and the US. Presently, he serves as Iskcon Baroda's branch president, as well as the past chairman of Iskcon India's advisory committee, known as the IIAC, the body of senior Iskcon leaders in India. He is vice chairman of Iskcon India Governing Bureau, or the IBC, the legal body that manages the affairs of Iskcon throughout India. He is also a member of the Mayapur Executive Board. He is also the secretary of the Iskcon Jagannath Puri Project Committee. So I would like to welcome Prabhuji to our program today. Maybe I will attempt to say one sentence in Sanskrit. Asmakam Iskcon Niagara Bhagyam Tava Upastitam. Basu Ghosh Prabhu. Hare Krishna. It is our good fortune to have you here, Prabhuji, as our guest. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Basu Ghosh Prabhuji.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So today's topic is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Samskrita Bhashya Dwarena Pravachanam na bhavishyati adya yataha darshakaha prayaha Samskrita Shravanasya Abhyasaha na kurvanti. So I'll speak in English because hearing Sanskrit, you all have no practice. Otherwise, yeah, it's not a problem. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we're about to celebrate in 2 weeks' time his appearance day. I don't remember now offhand. What is it? If 1986 was 500, so 86 and 14 and 21 is 37. Is that correct? 36? 536th appearance day. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born in a Brahmin family in what we call Mayapur now, Sri Mayapur, on the bank of Ganga during the Surya Grahan. And at that time, all of the people gathered to take a bath in Ganga. The system in India previously, now it's not being followed, was that whenever there is a Surya Grahan, people would stand in the water during that time to counteract the inauspiciousness of the Grahan.
Okay.
So at the time of standing in the water, they chant the names of Harinam. So when those names were being chanted, Hari Bol, Harinam, Hari Hari, Narayana, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. Gaudiya Vaishnavas considered Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as avatar of Krishna. So on what basis do they say that? So in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuranam, there's a shloka, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam, Sangopangashtra Parshadam, Yajñai Sankirtana Prayahi, Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Those who are intelligent in Kali Yuga will worship the Lord who appears to perform Sankirtan Yagna. But his color won't be Krishna. Krishna is black. Krishna Vad Tvisha Krishnam. It won't be Krishna. It will be Gaura, white. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a child, performed some wonderful pastimes which are mentioned in the histories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have Chaitanya Charitamrita that our Guruji, Swami Prabhupada, translated into English and which has been translated into many languages. And that was written by Krishna Das Kaviraj, who was contemporary of Mahaprabhu. But he compiled one life history. And before him, Vrindavan Das Thakur had compiled Chaitanya Bhagavat. And afterwards, there were other histories, Chaitanya Mangala, etc., etc. So after these wonderful childhood pastimes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started Vidya Abhyas. And this is generally performed by the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. But nowadays in India, we see only Brahmanas. And even that is only a small percentage of the Brahmanas who do Vedadhyayan, study Vedic literature. We don't know if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu studied a Veda. It's not mentioned. But it's mentioned that he studied Nyaya Shastra and Vyakaranam. And he became Nyayayika. Nyayayika is someone who's expert in Nyaya Shastra. So what is Nyaya Shastra? Logic. And it's based on Gautama's Nyaya Sutras, and then there are many commentaries. Tarka Sangraha, and other such commentaries on Nyaya Sutras exist. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became a teacher at a very young age of Nyaya Sutras, Nyaya philosophy. Nyaya philosophy, there is, even in India today, one man. Navadvip used to be famous even 100 years ago. People would go from all over India to study. People, Brahmanas mostly, would go to Navadvip to study Nyaya philosophy. And the study means memorizing. Avartanam, which in English is called rote. You recite the sutras or the bhasha, tika bhasha, and commentaries, and memorize it, commit it to memory. That is learning. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was called Nimai Pandit. His birth name was actually Nimai. What was different names? Nimai because he was born under a neem tree, and because he became a scholar of Nyaya Shastra, Nimai Pandit. However, after he attained teachership, guruship, and training other students in Nyaya, he became attracted to bhakti and harinam. Now, if he's an avatar, these are all leelas, these are pastimes. So when he became attracted to harinam, then he gave up apparently the studies. Also, he married at a very young age. Nowadays, we don't see that, although Gandhi ji, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, was married at 16, but his wife was also 16. I think it's in the Manu Smriti that a man of 25 can marry a girl of 12. That was a system that the man was older than the woman. In the case of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were, I think, the same age. So that practice was there. And we know that a woman can bear a child at the age of 14 or younger. And that was the Vedic system. They should be immediately married before puberty. Kanya avastha. When a girl is a kanya before puberty, she would be married. Why? Now modern society condemns that. Oh, child marriage, it's so horrible. But actually, nature is arranged the female body to be able to bear a child at a very young age. And the reason is the strength required for childbearing is more. For garbhadharanam, it's called, keeping the child in the womb. Strength is required. And nowadays, what's happening, girl doesn't turn 30, 35, she gets married. And then they can't have a child, so they lament, I had no child. And the child looks after the parents, supposed to. Now they have empty nests, go away and never see the parents. So this is the advancement of Kali Yuga. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this Kali Yuga to spread this Harinam and Harinam Sankirtan. And so he gave up the Brahminical activities to propagate Harinam. And at the age of 24, after marrying for a second time, that's also part of the Leelas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. First wife died, Lakshmi Devi, and then he married Vishnu Priya. She was 16 years old. But when he turned 24, and he without any children, and only his father also had expired, and his elder brother took sannyas, Vishwarup. So he was alone, but he also took sannyas. And the aim of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking sannyas was, one, to do prachar. Because when he did prachar as a householder in Navadvip, he wasn't given so much respect. And we know in India that if someone is in a saffron cloth, he's shown respect. And why is that? Ancient tradition, parampara. It's going back thousands of years. Because someone who could renounce material pleasure is considered great. And it's very difficult to renounce material pleasure. We're attached to our, I'm attached to sitting in this comfortable chair and sleeping on a comfortable bed, eating nice food and enjoying with my wife. Householder life is condemned in the Bhagavat. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Griha Andha Kupam. The house is like a black well, a blind well. You don't know where is the bottom. The reason being is that you develop an attachment for all of these things, and actually, ultimately, you have to leave them. Death, mrityu sarva haraschaham. I take away everything. At the time of death, Lord Krishna told Arjuna. Fact of the matter. Now, modern society wants to forget about death either by taking some pill or an injection or drinking alcohol. The pill and injection means hard drug use. And that creates an illusion, which is called tamasic, tamogun. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was preaching in Navadvip after he became a grihastha and became a bhakta. Bolo Krishna, bhaja Krishna, koro Krishna, shiksha. Chant the name of Krishna, worship Krishna, and follow the teachings of Lord Krishna. That's Bhagavad Gita, Gita Upadesh. Finally, after preaching for several years and holding kirtans, which are described in detail in Chaitanya Charitamrita and in more detail in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. And he never took the sannyasi name. He actually took sannyas from Keshava Bharati, who was in the Shankara Advaita Vedanta Sampradaya. So in order not to be identified with these Advaitavadi sannyasis, he didn't take the sannyas name. He kept the brahmachari name of a sannyasi who's a tirtha. Bharati, Keshava Bharati. So it was Shri Krishna Chaitanya. That was the brahmachari name. So if you're about to take sannyas, you need to have a formal brahmachari name in order to take sannyas. So that was his name, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. After taking sannyas, he carried on with that name. He didn't take the Bharati, Van, Saraswati. I'm not remembering them all at the moment. Tirtha, Bharati, Van, Saraswati, there are 11 of them. There's a list available somewhere. I can get that. But anyway, let's go on. So after taking sannyas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mother came there at that place, Sachi Devi, and she requested him to stay at Puri, because if he stayed at Puri, it would be close enough that sometimes she could get some news of his health and well-being. Mothers are always concerned for their children, even if they take sannyas. So first 18 years of his sannyas ashram, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled all over India. He went to Vrindavan twice. He traveled around in South India. And he spent 18 years like that. And the last 6 years, 12, last 6 years he spent in Puri, in the house of Kashi Mishra. And there was a room that he stayed called the Gambhira, which you can see today in Jagannath Puri. So during his travels, he propagated Harinam. And wherever he went, it says that all the people would chant Harinam. And he converted a lot of people to Vaishnavism. Those conversions, at least as far as the mundane eye, did not last. Nobody ever says this in our institution. But we know that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is chanted all over India, but Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya was mostly in Bengal and Orissa, and it spread to Manipur. Even in Assam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not so much revered as he was in Bengal. So Vanga is the Sanskrit name for the place, what the British called Bengal, and they divided politically, what is it now? 74 years ago, into East Pakistan and West Pakistan, and then in 1971 it became Bangladesh. But it's actually one place, Vanga. It's not two places, but political considerations made it two. But the people in the Bangladesh side seem to have been more focused on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as compared with the West side. Just an observation. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached. He went to Vanga, which is eastern Bengal, shortly after he became a grihastha. And that's why when he was away, the first wife couldn't bear the separation, it said, or she was bitten by a snake. It's hard to understand, but she expired at an early age. So now Mahaprabhu is a sannyasi. He's traveling around. Sometimes he had a servant with him, sometimes he didn't. Then finally, last few years of his life, he was in the Gambhira, and he was day and night reciting shlokas from Srimad Bhagavatam and displaying viraha bhavana, separation from Krishna. So this separation, this feeling of separation was felt by the gopis when Krishna left the Ras Leela, and that is described in Bhagavat Dashamaskanda. And after 48 years, it is unclear from Chaitanya Charitamrita what happened to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The story is that he merged into the deity of Gopinath at Jagannath Puri. One of the most memorable pastimes because we don't have a lot of time. I'm not sure, Prabhu, how much time we have. Sachidananda Prabhu, I think he's stepped out of the room. Somebody could help me. Oh, everyone is muted. That's a problem. Okay, anyway, that's the Zoom crowd. I'm also broadcasting this live on Facebook. So there are some viewers on Facebook. So, what was I going to say? One of the most memorable pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was when he entered the kingdom of Vijayanagara. And while he was taking a bath on bank of Godavari River, Vijayanagara was situated on bank of Godavari, although it was a massive kingdom. This Vijayanagara at the time was under the king of Odisha, however you want to pronounce it. Utkala and Kalinga are the ancient names. Prataprudra. And the governor of that Vijayanagara was Ramananda Rai. And Ramananda Rai was a great Bhakta, great Vaishnav. In Orissa, everyone's a devotee of Jagannath. But he was appointed the governor by King Prataprudra. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw him when he went for his bath on the bank of the Godavari River. So sannyasi has to take a bath 3 times a day. And generally brahmanas and sannyasis would live on the bank of the river to take the river bath. And the best river is the river that flows into the ocean, the 7 holy rivers, Gange cha Yamune chaiva, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, Sindhu, and Kaveri. These are the Sapta Nadis. So Godavari is one of them. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw him and he made a note. This Ramananda Rai, I was told by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to meet him. How much time, Prabhu? Now you're here. Sachidananda Prabhu, you're back.
Oh, no. I have just...
No, nothing. There's nothing wrong. I mean, I understand.
Oh,
so what's the time frame?
I sent you the schedule until 5
p.m. No. Just give me a hint now.
Another half an hour.
Oh, I see.
Not enough time.
Pardon?
Yes, you have another half.
All right, I'll go on for 15 minutes and then open it up for questions.
Okay, Prabhu, as you wish.
Right. So there are many pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but the pastime of Ramananda Rai, when they first met, stands out because there's a whole adhyaya of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is known as Mahaprabhu Ramananda Rai Samvad, their discussion. And in a nutshell, it's like this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meets Ramananda Rai and they discuss where Mahaprabhu puts questions to Ramananda Rai. And one by one, he answers the questions. And basically the question is, what is the aim of life? And for every answer, Ramananda Rai provides a shloka from Gita or Srimad Bhagavat. Every question he answers like that. Impressive. And he gives, dharmartha, kama, and moksha. That's the aim of human life. But ultimately, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him that the real aim of life is to get Krishna prema, love of Krishna. Love of Krishna is not easy to get, it's not easy to obtain, and it's not cheap. How to get it? How to get it? So, see, just by talking, you cannot get it. I cannot also. So what we say, there's a sadhana. Certain spiritual practices, waking up early in the morning, chanting Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Natibhi, Kalavasani Krito. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, the 6 Goswamis, passed their time. Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Natibhi. Sankhya Purvaka, counting. Sankhya Purvaka Nama, the name of Krishna, the name of Vishnu. Gana Natibihi, and by dancing and singing. So in Bengal, this being inspired by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Harinam, there were lots of this Kartal and Shri Khol, it's called, clay mridanga. Excuse me. So by chanting, you get gradually purified. And so that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stressed this. And he performed during his years in Jagannath Puri, he attended Jagannath Rath Yatra Mahotsav annually, and devotees from Bengal would come by walk. They would walk. It would take them 2 weeks to a month to walk from Mayapur to Jagannath Puri. There's overnight train now, once a week from Navadvip to Puri. And from Calcutta to Puri, there's 4 or 5 trains overnight, and there's a couple day trains. And now you can fly from Calcutta to Bhubaneswar for next to nothing. Fake fake Bhav, really cheap flight. It's actually just half an hour flight from takeoff to landing, Calcutta to Bhubaneswar. And now from Bhubaneswar airport to Puri is 1 hour, double highway, they're 4-lane highway. So the devotees would come from Bengal by walk. They didn't have any of these modern amenities. This is 500 years ago. They would have bullock carts or horse carts or some carts to carry their supplies. So at the Jagannath Rath Yatra Mahotsav, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had his devotees break into 7 or 8 kirtan mandalis. And because in Puri, they have 3 big rathas, carts for Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, separate carts for each of those deities. And the kirtan mandalis would be stationed at different carts in the front of the cart. And it was said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would appear in all of those kirtan mandalis simultaneously because he's Ishwara avatar. That's what we believe. So what more can I say? So we have the Jagannath Rath Yatra festival is one of the main events, the Ramananda Rai Samvad. I want to read a shloka from Chaitanya Chandramrita, which I saw a few minutes ago, and which is God. According to the Chaitanya Chandramrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give 4 gifts to the world. Prema nam abhutartha shravana patagata kasya nam mahimnah, actually. Ko veta kasya vrindavana vipina maha madurishu praveshaha. Kova janati radham paramarasa chamatkara madhurya simam ekas chaitanya chandra paramakarunaya sarva avishchakara. So this is the 130th shloka of Chaitanya Chandramrita. And the English translation is, had anyone even heard of something known as prema, as the ultimate aim of mankind? Question. And the answer is no. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach Krishna prema. Did anyone know of the divine power of the holy name? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's avatar was to Yajñai Sankirtana Prayahi, to spread this Harinam Sankirtan Yagna. Did anyone know Radha as the embodiment of the highest transcendental power? Transcendental ecstasy. So it is said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the form of Radharani to taste what is love of Krishna. Being Krishna, Krishna could not understand what is the love of Krishna that Radharani and the gopis were experiencing. So he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to get that pleasure that they were feeling. So does anyone know that Sri Radha is the embodiment of the highest transcendental ecstasy, the perfection of the furthest reaches of the sweetness of conjugal love, only due to the apprehension wait a minute. Did anyone know Shri Radha is the embodiment of the highest transcendental exit, the personification of the furthest reaches of the sweetness of conjugal love, as supremely worshipful, fully worthy of the fullest limit of loving adoration. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established Radha Krishna Upasana because Radha is the embodiment of love of Krishna, Krishna Prem. Only due to the absolute compassion of Sri Chaitanya Chandra were these rarest gems discovered, found shimmering in the darkness of Kali Yuga, lit by the moonlight of his benevolence. So mostly people in Kali Yuga, they don't know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have no idea that love of Krishna is even higher than moksha. Now, when we say higher than moksha, we also talk about moksha, and that one should become free from the repetition of birth and death, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. But this is a very powerful and very direct weapon, which is Harinam Sankirtan. So to obtain this prema is not cheap. It is not easy. It is rare. It is a rare achievement. To chant Hare Krishna is one thing, but one has to chant absolutely purely Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. Pure goodness is divorced, is separate, I should say, not divorced, but separate from ordinary goodness. There are two types of sattva, material sattva and spiritual Shabdam Vishuddham, completely pure, free from all material contamination. Vasudeva, it's called Vasudeva. Shabditam, sounded as Vasudeva. And there are other types of consciousness that leads you down. Adho gachanti tamasaha. Gita says those who are in the mode of ignorance, just drinking, eating, sleeping, and drinking, like the animals, they go down. They get a lower birth. So this compassion that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed upon humanity is like a rare gem. So this is the translation here. Lit by the moonlight of his benevolence, in the darkness of Kali Yuga, the system of worship of Radha and Krishna so that you can ultimately attain Krishna Prema was introduced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore his main followers, the 6 Goswamis, established Radha Govinda, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Damodar, Radha Raman, Radha Shamsundar, Radha Madhava, these temples in Vrindavan. There are many other forms. Excuse me, Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Vasanta Bihari. Now Vasant is started. So all of these forms of Radha Krishna were established by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers so that we could get the mercy of Radha and Krishna. And somehow develop love of Krishna. That somehow means giving up our material attachments, and that's very difficult. So then what will happen to us? Ayati pare opeto, yoga chalati manasaha. In Gita, Krishna has asked this question by Arjuna, what happens to the unsuccessful yogi? So this bhakti yoga means by developing Krishna Prem, you become totally absorbed in Krishna, and the Atma goes to Krishna's eternal abode. Natad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yad gatva na nivartante. Having gone there, you don't return. Tad dhama paramam mama. That's my topmost abode. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna in Gita. So that's the aim. The aim is to ultimately reach to Krishna. How does that happen? Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Those who worship me always, Krishna says in Gita to Arjuna, with love and priti purvakam, with affection. Dadami buddhi yogam, I give them intelligence. Yena, by which mam upayanti, they can come to me. Te, they. Mam upayanti, come to me, te. So those who really develop love of Krishna, he will give the intelligence by which we can go to him. So the Guru is teaching to engage in sadhana, early to rise, chanting Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Natibihi, Kirtanam Gana Natibihi, dancing. There has to be kirtan to be dancing. And chanting rounds. This is how the 6 Goswamis passed their time. The deity worship is there, so you're meditating on Krishna in the form of the deity. And if you're a man of ordinary means, you can worship Krishna at home. And whatever you, yat karoshi, yat ashnasi, as per Gita, you can offer what you can to him. And ultimately, you'll develop that mam chayo abhyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. So that bhakti has to be freed from all material contamination, all desire for material enjoyment. Again, not easy. But this is the instruction of Krishna to Arjuna in Gita. Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. One who serves me without any material contamination, sagunan samatitya eta, etan gunan samatitya. He crosses over tamogun, rajogun, and even sattvagun to vishuddha, sattvam vishuddham vasudeva shabditam. Brahmabhuyaya kalpate. Then he attains that eternal position. So that eternal position is serving Krishna, salokya samarpya, salokyas, samipya, sarshti, sarupya. These are the 4 types of liberation. Salokya, live on the same planet as Vishnu. Samipya, live nearby Vishnu. Sarupya, have a 4-handed form like Vishnu. Salokya, samarpya, what is it? Salokya, sarshti, and sarshti, the same opulence as Vishnu. That's the 4th one. Sayujya, merging into the bodily effulgence, I think it's same Chaitanya Chandramrita, Kaivalya Narakayate. That merging into the effulgence is worse than hell for a devotee. Why? Why liberation from the repetition of birth and death should be worse than hell? Because you cannot do bhakti there. You're just suspended in deathlessness, but you cannot engage in practical bhakti. So that's not the highest destination, actually. So we have a few minutes for questions. I don't know, Facebook people can send in questions by typing the question. And here, I don't know, what's the practice, Prabhu? How would you go for questions?
Prabhu, Hare Krishna. What we do is normally we just open up the microphone.
Right, I heard.
They can address any questions that they have. The microphone is now open, so if anybody would like to pose a question to Prabhuji or express your reflections, please feel free to do so. And if Prabhuji, if you have any questions that pop up on your Facebook, maybe you can share it prior to answering them so that we know what the question is.
You had muted me. Am I muted now? No. Okay. What
We can hear you loud and clear.
they're not unmuted yet. You didn't throw it open.
Prabhuji, it is open for
No,
anybody. They
no,
have
no.
to unmute. They have to unmute themselves.
I see everyone has to unmute themselves.
Yeah, one
Okay,
at a time, so that we don't talk over each other.
I understand.
Yes, I have
Okay.
Vaishnav Prabhu. I believe he has unmuted himself. Vaishnav Prabhu is our Iskcon Niagara Falls temple president.
Oh,
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Basu Ghosh Prabhu, Hare
Hare-
Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And we'd like to take this opportunity to thank you sincerely for giving us such nectarian katha this afternoon. And I know you're a busy person. And thank you very, very much. It was a very nice, sweet class, especially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's so beautiful to hear these stories. And you covered quite a bit, and we are very, very grateful for your appearance here today. And we wish you all the best and hope that you can always join us to give us more and more of your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the kind words, Prabhu. I don't feel I'm worthy of them. And I know that we only touched the tip of the iceberg of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Leelas and the purpose for his appearance 536 years ago. And your satsang group is an attempt to engage in bhakti, so it's glorious. And nowadays, very few people want to engage in bhakti. So any gathering of bhaktas is a good sign. It's a good sign.
Hare Krishna.
So if anybody has a question or a comment, feel free. I didn't anticipate a lot of people from India joining this on Facebook because it's right now it's what 3:40, no, what is it, 3:20 in the morning. It's a little early to say the least. Nothing else. No, here also Facebook, no questions are coming in.
Prabhuji, if you will permit, I have one question.
Sure.
While
Sure.
preaching, sometimes this comes across, and maybe I will learn a thing or two with your answer. Many people in India are devotees of Krishna, and they are involved in their bhakti. There are different Vaishnava sampradayas who are devoted to Sri Krishna. So the question is that those who are worshippers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is the difference? Like there are Vaishnavas in the Vallabh Sampradaya who are also very devoted to Sri Krishna. And they consider Sri Vallabhacharya ji as their Mahaprabhu. And of course, Sri Vallabhacharya Mahaprabhu also considered Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his worshipable. As we see, it's there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But for those who do not come across the mercy of Mahaprabhu or do not know about Mahaprabhu, can they still attain Krishna Prem?
Chaitanya Charitamrita makes such very, you can say, seemingly extreme type of statements. But same time, we recognize them as Vaishnavas. Baladev Vidyabhushan wrote in his Prameya Ratnavali that there are 4 Vaishnav Sampradayas. We also know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met followers of Ramanujacharya when he stayed for Chaturmasya in Sri Rangam during his sannyas ashram days. And it says he was very happy in the company of the Sri Vaishnavas, the Ramanuja Sampradaya Vaishnavas. So I'm sure there's a lot more about this, then we can even have a discussion on here, because there are small, there's small, I don't know, extreme views that people have that you can own, it's a fanaticism that we are the only way. But we do say that Harinam is the easy way to obtain these 4 types of moksha, and that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it easy by Harinam Sankirtan. Now the other, Bhagavat says nine types of bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam. One of them is Archanam, worshipping the deities. Ramanuja Sampradaya, Nimbark Sampradaya, they all worship deities. Vallabhacharya Sampradaya, they also worship deities. All the Vaishnava Sampradayas, it's terrible, worship the deity forms. So, my personal view is they're all Vaishnavas and we bow down to them as Vaishnavas. We respect them. They are all those who are strict followers of the Vaishnava Sampradayas. They have good habits. They don't take intoxication. Now you sometimes see them drinking coffee or chewing pan. If it's, personally, I feel that it's not such a grievous offense, although our Guruji, Prabhupada, forbade those things. Pan chewing also, I heard Prabhupada personally tell me in Hyderabad, Vaishnavas do not chew pan. And, one of my godbrothers said that it's offered to Krishna and then it's put into the Yamuna. The devotees offer Krishna pan, supari and betel nut and all those things, but it's intoxicating. Therefore, Prabhupada said, Vaishnavas do not chew pan. But we see some of these other Vaishnavas chewing pan. So we can be a little broad-minded, not in the sense that, well, pan is okay. No, we won't take it. But they are Vaishnavas after all. Prabhupada also wrote even the Sahajiyas who commit papachar, they're also bhaktas. He wrote like that. He didn't write those 2 ideas in one sentence, but he wrote that they are also devotees. After condemning them for performing vyabhichar and papachar, he said they're also devotees. So devotee is very rare, but there are different types of devotees. And those devotees who, take a little intoxication, like tea, coffee, or pan, well, they may not get liberation, maybe. It's up to Krishna. It's not up to us. Krishna says not to take these things. Isn't it? He says it's in the mode of ignorance. So they're not very good devotees. Maybe they're the unsuccessful yogis. They'll have to take another janma. You understand? Now somebody may be in another sampradaya and follow very strictly, and someone may be in our movement and secretly doing this thing and that thing and the other thing. So he's a devotee, but he may not obtain perfection. And those people may be in another sampradaya, very strict. Some Ramanuja Brahmins, they'll never take tea and coffee. You see, you cannot generalize, but it's become general. Even Gaudiya Vaishnavas, I saw in Manipur, every woman is wearing a Gaudiya Vaishnav tilak. Even the fish seller in the market has a Gaudiya Vaishnav tilak. Now that's not ideal. I went to Radha Govinda temple on Kartik Purnima in Imphal. This was in 2010. I recommend that to everyone. If you have a chance once in your lifetime, please go to Radha Govinda temple on the night of Kartik Purnima, 2-hour Mridanga performance by 2 men And then 75 ladies in those Manipuri dresses, they do Krishna Ras Leela dance that goes into the night. We left at 11:30, but it goes up to 2 in the morning. And this was established by King Manik Chandra, who became a follower of Narottam Das Thakur. So they're influenced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And, you know, we had a godbrother, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. He passed away, it's almost 15 years ago. He was a friend. We were not the closest of godbrothers, but we had a very affectionate, he was a senior man to me. And my mother came, my late mother who passed away 13 years ago, came to Mayapur 22 years ago. And he took her and myself in a boat to Navadvip. He was donated a temple by the king of Manipur in Navadvip. And so, you know, what can I say? You know, we can be very fanatical, but we can also be a little broad-minded. They're also Vaishnavas, they're fallen. If they're chewing pan, if they're drinking tea, but if they're putting a tilak, they're still Vaishnavas. Now nobody's putting a tilak, so we have to respect anybody who puts a Vaishnav tilak, right? It's a good question, but I say it's not black and white. It's 256 shades of gray. It's 256 shades of gray. Then the same goes for us. You know, we cannot demand anyone to be perfect, and we don't live in a perfect world. That's not an excuse. We may become worms in stool if we couldn't follow properly. We don't know. It's up to Krishna where our Atma goes after it leaves the present body. That's in the hands of Krishna. Some of us are weak. We know lots of godbrothers who go away, and Prabhupada lamented that. And if anybody fell down and came back, he said, at least stay in our movement, be a grihasta. Especially there was one particular sannyasi who did all types of vyabhichar. And he was very dear to Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada told him, don't go away. And he lived, he expired, he's no more. But in the last years of his life, he lived with the devotees in Los Angeles Temple area. A foreigner like myself. Oh, wait a minute. You're all foreigners here. Yeah, in India, I'm a foreigner. 47 years, I'm a foreigner. What to do? It's a fact.
You've lost your American accent by staying in 47 years in India.
Yeah, well, anyway, Hare Krishna. The fortune to stay in India, the Devatas are praying to be born in India, according to Bhagavatam. 5:19:21. Aho amisham kimakari shobhanam. I can't remember the rest of it, but those who are born in Bharata Varsha are very fortunate. What did they do to get that janma? And Prabhupada told us in Juhu one time on the morning walk, he said, you know, more or less everyone in India is Krishna conscious. So, you know, how even when the Mahabharata and Ramayana were first shown on TV, all the Muslims were also watching. The whole country would stop. I mean, older people who lived in India in 1980, late 80s, early 90s, remember those days. And everyone in India knows Hanuman, Krishna, Balaram, everybody knows about them. So there is a great quality, and also Vedic culture, the traditions, the habits. People go to temples, thousands and thousands of people go to temples. So India has many great qualities. And actually these Western religions, Abrahamic religions, are against Vedic religion. They're against this Murti Puja. So it's one who's trained like that in the childhood, giving it up is difficult. So now we see that this Harinam Prabhupada was able to spread all over the world, and Westerners got converted. So what Prabhupada did was amazing. The effects of his preaching, because Iskcon is expanding, Iskcon in India is booming right now. I don't know about in the West. You have a new center in Niagara, nice. Build a $40 million temple.
Thank you for your blessings. Someday it's going to happen.
Nothing is impossible, Prabhupada said, right? Impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. Can happen. Just like the big temple in Mayapur, for 30 years, nothing happened after Prabhupada. Prabhupada disappeared 43, what is it, 42, 43 years ago. 43. And after 30 years, the work started. And it's a 700 crore, 800 crore temple nobody could imagine would come up in Mayapur. And it's coming up.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you for the reconciliation. One thing that you mentioned is that we should all keep in mind not to become fanatics. And nowadays, anybody who takes to any kind of bhakti should be respected. So,
Really?
yes. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Anybody else would like to take the opportunity? Prabhuji is here. He is very scholarly. Yeah, his command on Sanskrit and studying the scriptures and he can actually give a whole lecture in Sanskrit. I can follow about 90% of your Sanskrit. If you want to take that chance, I can translate. But I cannot speak.
Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. Abhyasaha karaniyaha.
Yes, one should
Samskrita
practice.
Shamata prapti artam yat yavat jnanamasti yavat shabda kosha shirasi yat tishtati shirasi tat prayoktavya.
Yes, if one practices, then they can increase their vocabulary and it will remain in their memory.
Whatever you know, you have to use it. Prayoktavya means use it.
Yes.
You must use what all the words you know. This is how I started speaking Hindi in those days. And I left India to Nepal, which is India, but it's a different country. And I was sent there suddenly on a whim. This is in 1975. I was 20 years old. And I had no place to go. I had no money in my pocket. But the Marwari Seva Samiti, 5 rupees a day for a room, Nepali rupees, and 5 rupees for a bhojan, saved my life. Saved my life. I was there for 5 weeks. I thought I would go there for 2 days and come back. So long story. But because I could speak Hindi. If I couldn't speak Hindi, I was dressed as a brahmachari in saffron. I was a brahmachari. Iskcon brahmacharis wear saffron. But because I was able to converse, so I got a place there. So learning Sanskrit, actually, it's a language. Bhasha means, speaking and interacting. That's what language is for. Grammatical rules don't make a language. Actually, Panini's grammar was an observation on the spoken language. And this thing has been suppressed. It doesn't make sense why it was. We can go over the logic of why it was suppressed. But actually, speaking is the best way to learn any language. There are some messages in the chat window. Maybe there's some question there. No? I see. I don't see these messages. Oh, I see here. Okay, I'm just seeing it now. Okay. There's no question.
Okay.
Somehow it's coming up on the side where, I don't know, this first time. Usually it would come up in a separate box. Anyway, Zoom is changing a little, I guess. Looks like there's no more questions. Anyway, people have a limit to how much they can sit on these online meetings. We had a meeting this morning, my God, Hare Krishna. Hey, Prabhu, hey, Govinda. I thought an hour and a half, it went on for 2.5 hours. So it happens like that. Gopal Krishna Maharaj was in the meeting and he said, I've been meeting from morning to night on Zoom. He was lamenting his whole life is locked up in the Zoom.
Hare Krishna. So again, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for coming and sharing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. on this platform. Um, like they say that, the Zoom platform, due to the coronavirus, we call it's the Karuna of Krishna. Sitting in your own home, you still get the mercy, the Karuna, um, in your own home with the convenience. And
Right?
this has opened up new doors for satsang and for association.
True.
So you are sitting in Texas, in the Dallas area, and we are
Yeah.
all in our own homes, most of us in the Toronto region.
In
Some of
fact,
these devotees are from Chicago, and I'm sure there's a couple from India as well. So,
I was at the temple for Tamal Krishna Maharaj's 19th disappearance observance today. And, there was hardly any advance notice. There's a god brother here. He called me, I'll take you to the temple. Temple is 40 miles away, 60 kilometers. It took an hour to get there, and coming back also, I was in a little anxiety, but we reached in time. And, there also by people participated online, as well as 2 or 3 of us spoke, God brothers.
thank you again, Prabhuji. So,
Okay. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Namo namaha.
So, just a quick announcement before we have the ending kirtan. This week we have a tithi of Shri Purushottam Das Thakur's appearance, which is happening on the 17th of March, on Wednesday. And Srila Purushottam Das Thakur was a very staunch devotee of Lord Nityananda. He was extremely fortunate, born in that line. He was also where Sadashiv Kaviraj and his son Purushottam Das, they were 24th in line of Nityanand Prabhu's parivar. And it is said that he was one of the Gopals in Krishna Leela. Krishna Purushottam Das Thakur had 3 main disciples: Sri Madhvacharya Pad, Sri Advacharya, and Devki Nandar Thakur. And they were all born in Kulin, Brahmin families. Madhvacharya ji was married to Nityanand Prabhu's daughter, Ganga Devi. And Devkinandan Prabhu was the author of the Vaishnav Vandane. So all glories to Purushottam Das Thakur. May our Vaishnav Acharyas bless us for pure bhakti. We always pray for their mercy. So thank you very much again, Basu Ghosh Prabhuji. Please come back again. We will schedule you according to your schedule in the future. And right now, I would like to invite Venkat Prabhu and Mataji, Snigdha Radhika Mataji, to perform the ending kirtan. Everybody, please take care, depend on Krishna, and like Mahaprabhu and the Vaishnavas say, Laho Krishna, Kaho Krishna, Laho Krishna Nam, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Gauranga, Bhaja Gauranga, Laho Gaurangira Nam Re, Je Jana Lahe Gauranga, Kahe Gauranga, Shahi Amara Prana. So please call out the names of Gauranga, worship Lord Gauranga. And those who speak the name of Lord Gauranga are indeed our life and soul. Hare Krishna. Venkat Prabhu, please unmute yourself. And in the meantime, before we do that, I'm going to actually unmute everybody and then you unmute yourself, just in case we can avoid any kind of interference. Venkat Prabhu, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. We can hear you loud and clear. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र वशिष्ठ श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। मुख्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र वशिष्ठ श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर जगत गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ब्रह्मोदय गौड़ीय संप्रदाय आचार्य गुरु वर्ग की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीधर श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। समावेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to the seven devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the seven devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the seven devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Abhirbhav Tithi celebration ki jai. Gaur de Hari Hari Bol. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.